Good morning. Happy Cinco de Mayo. Um, I am going to really talk about The Devil Wears Prada 2, like give my full in-depth review. Um, I wanted to give some time for people to actually watch it and yeah, really just kind of divulge into it if I shall. Okay, so um in this sequel, which is 20 years later, right? Andy Sachs reunites with Miranda Priestley as they navigate their careers amid the decline of traditional magazine publishings. So, when it starts out, um, Andy, she's at um, this this news article or news place that she was working at, and as people are getting up to accept their awards, um, and she's was nominated, and she's literally just about to get up to accept hers. Um, Everyone at the table is getting text that they have or are being fired, which is which is kind of a shitty way to tell someone that they're being fired, right? So she's like in a shock value face, and so she's getting up and she's telling the people, she's like, oh, like um I'm so sorry for me looking the way I do because I'm shocked, not shocked, happy. Yes, I am happy that I'm receiving this award, but I'm shocked that all these wonderful talented people at this table has just been fired through text. So then visit like um visiting, I guess she's staying with her friend, or maybe she's just visiting her, Lily, which she's back, Tracy Toms. So she has kids, and she's telling her, like, you're welcome to come and work for me at my gallery. We could really use you. And she's like, oh, appreciate that. I thank you very much, but I I hope something else can come my way. So then um these people, Jay and Irv, who are really behind the company, they are like, the head honchos. Um they, I guess, seen the video image of Andy, and I guess wasn't expecting to for it to emerge online. But that's that's the world that we're living in today, and everything is basically online. If someone is videoing you, recording you, whatever, it's somehow going to resurface online, right? So they see that, and then somehow gets in touch with Andy. She sees that, and therefore she's coming back to Runway to help kind of extinguish and hopefully revive Runway in one way or another. Um, like I said, so it's been 20 years. So she's coming in there, blah, 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 whatever, happy. And she's like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm back again. She's like, how are you guys? And Miranda's like, I'm sorry, do we know her? And she's like, it's me, and Andrea, Emily. Who? She's like, she was one of the Emilys. The one of the what? Um, And I don't know. I thought that was kind of funny. I don't know if just time erased or she just really don't pay attention to those types of people. Um, it so like I said, it was kind of funny in that way because she didn't know what was going on, and so but she's like, I really want to thank you for this opportunity. Like I said, I'm so grateful, and she didn't know what the hell she was talking about, but therefore they are the ones who put her on, and so now she's supposed to be like basically writing for them. One is writing an article that steers it away from Miranda, and then they're visiting Emily, where she works at Dior, um, and they both look at each other, Emily and Andy, and he's like, "Am I having a hallucination?" She's like, "Oh my god, it's Emily." And Miranda's like, "Oh my god." She's like, "You know each other?" And therefore, she's like, "Yes, we worked for you at Runway." She's like, "I was there. Where was I?" Um. So yeah, like I'm saying, like she just must really forget about these people or just don't give a shit about them. I don't know. I was also trying to think how they're working that in, but there was no like discussion of like what happened, like why is she not remembering these people. But Nigel remembers these people, and yeah, so uh like I said, Andy is back working at Runway, but she's writing for them. Emily is at Dior. Emily now is has a boyfriend named Benji, played by Justin Theroux. He is very much a wealthy man. He apparently had been dating slash I don't maybe married. I think that's what it was. Married to Sasha, who is played by Lucy Liu. They're not together anymore, and um, not only has Miranda been trying to get an interview with Sasha, but um, Andy also has been trying to do that as well. Um, Eventually, she gets an interview, and so now Miranda is actually the one who's interviewing her, and now it makes Andy look good. Blah blah blah, and then there's like this party that is happening um, for Irv. I think he's like turning 75, or it's the 75th anniversary. I forgot what it was. Anyway, so that was supposed to have been the time that he is telling Miranda that she is going to be the CEO of the company, and then he basically dies, literally falls, hits the table, and now Jay is in charge, which he has no fashion sense, no knowledge of fashion whatsoever, and he was going to figure out like kind of what to do with it, put his plans in motion, um, and then um, Andy comes up with a brilliant idea of having Emily talk to Benji, so that way they're not losing the company, but it's still in good hands. But they get well, Andy gets side blinded or blindsided by the fact that it was Emily who really wanted the company for herself and she could be the CEO. And Miranda finds out, blah blah blah. And so then um, Andy and Miranda are like trying to figure out like what to do, and then they get back in touch with Sasha, and so then therefore she is buying out the company, and now everything is a okay. That's like the shortest version I can give you of like kind of like what happened. Um, so um, now also talking about these people who I feel like did not add anything to the storyline. Like, okay, let's talk about Peter, who is played by Patrick Brammel. He is supposed to be the love interest to Andy. Okay, first of all, I don't see any connection with them two whatsoever. Um, he is um kind of like reconstructing this building, and Andy is now able to afford a bigger apartment, and so that's kind of how that happened because he owns these buildings or kind of like reconstructs them, if you will, and so they kind of had a connection, if you will. Makes no sense. Whatever, whatever, right? Um, You have the new Emily's, if you will. Amari is um, really the right hand man, if you will, to Miranda. She does everything, while Charlie is basically Andy, the other Emily, who does all the things and takes the book up and blah blah blah. Um, Jen is Andy's assistant. And um, yeah, that's kind of it. I mean, there are well, there's one um, cameo by Lady Gaga, very short cameo. Um, yeah, that's kind of it. Without going too much, you know what I'm saying? Okay, so
I'm having trouble connecting to the internet. Please check your Wi Fi network.
okay, okay, so pros and cons, right? Pro, was it a good movie? Yes, it was a great movie. Um, Storyline made sense. You know, the fact that paper publishing is kind of like no more. Everybody is like on their phones or tablets, computer, whatever. No one really picks up a magazine anymore. Like I don't. Every time I've ever like checked out at a grocery store, I don't know if I've ever seen anybody pick up a magazine anymore. Like literally, they still make them, but I just don't see anybody buying them. Um, I think one of my friends was saying that Men's Health magazine or something along that line, and I'm assuming this is the reason. This is my conclusion to this is that what it used to be price wise, maybe like $4.50. It's now like $10 or something like that. And I'm like, what? Are you insane? $10 for a fucking magazine? Um, I'm just like, okay, whatever. So yeah. So like I said, everything is now digitalized and trying to make everything make sense in the digital age world. Um, Acting, obviously great. Meryl, she's up here as far as acting standards. Everybody played a great part. Um, I love all of them equally. Okay, now getting to the cons. They're like adding people in here I guess to really make a good storyline, like okay, Justin Thoreau. I don't know. Was he really needed in this movie? Like he didn't have a big part. Same as Lucy Liu. But I guess for them to for them to have money to make it make sense in the storyline. Okay, all right, we're gonna buy it. Um, Lily, she wasn't in there very long. Okay, but I guess good to see a friendly face. I just mentioned Peter, played by Patrick. Just wasn't needed in my opinion. The new Emily's all right, kind of. We'll leave them alone. Um, Now I didn't talk about these people because now I'm going to talk about them. But these were like two of the people who were part of Andy's first team, like before she got fired. Mac and Talia. Okay, we barely see these people in this movie after the fact. Another like, okay, what? Okay, so Talia was really wanting Andy after the fact they got fired. Was like, oh my god, you should really write a tell-all book about Miranda Priestley. She's like, I can't do that. If I do that, then how will I get a job? I'll be like just ostracized, basically. Mac was like, okay, I agreeing with that, and then I'm assuming because you barely see them that they are now working for Andy, like basically under her wing for Runway. All right, but like I said, you barely see them in the movie. I don't know. In my opinion, pointless. Um, Other than that, my other critique is was this movie needed or necessary? No, it really wasn't. It was not needed. The first one was a classic, still is a classic. I watch this movie maybe about 5 times a year because it's that good to me. It's such a classic, and I can quote the lines. And I'm like watching this movie. I watched it again just to like refresh myself. I'm like, I don't think there's anything quotable in this movie. I'm just being honest. And I'm not trying to be like a negative Nancy or anything like that, but again, was it a good movie? Sure. Was it needed? No, was not. So now we're going to get to the reviews of some of these people. So far, overall, it's a 6.9 out of 10 throughout the range, right? Excuse me. So, first one is an 8 out of 10. Okay, that's all. Trying to be funny, but like they're giving it okay. So the Devil Wears Prada 2 doesn't try to force itself off the first film. It carries roughly the same themes like industry changes and adaptation, ambition, identity, and struggle. The story continues from the previous film with a slightly more mature approach. Even though some parts still feel cliche, here Andrea tries to save um, the world of print, publishing, and fashion, both of which are slowly changing due to technology advancement. It's filled with drama and twists and are somewhat predictable, but still enjoyable. The comedy remains the same, still dominated by satire and sharp jabs about technology and corporate culture, which hit hard yet stay entertaining. We also get to see how the original characters have developed, trying to help each other um, and getting closer as well. The pacing is consistent and still feels comfortable. The cinematography style hasn't changed much from the first film, only feeling slightly more cinematic. Thanks to the color grading and lightly the editing is still solid, making the film more fun. The design and overall styling feel more aligned with the current era, The scoring isn't too different from the first one, with the addition of its iconic themes. The original cast is still fully embodied um, by their roles, while the supporting cast is kind of decent. Overall, it's a great that the film is still directed by the same person, so the vibe from the previous film is still very much present here. Um, I'd agree with that. This one gives it a 6 out of 10. Not terrible, not good, just nothing. Just watched this movie and figured I'd drop a quick review. A few words about the first one. I saw the original years ago and still remember how it made me feel. It had warmth, heart, something genuine. When it ended, you just felt good. I look back on the movie with a lot of nostalgia. I even rewatched it before going into the sequel, and yeah, my expectations were pretty much confirmed. The second movie just doesn't have the same warmth or soul, and honestly, I don't think it ever could. What the first one did and felt kind of unique, this one just exists. It really feels like it was made years later, not because there was a real story to tell, but just to make money. Let's be real about it. And sure, it's fine that this movie exists, but it didn't. Uh, but if it didn't, nothing would be missing. It doesn't really make you feel anything. It's nice to see Anne Hathaway as always, and that's about it. There's not much else to say. This movie is just there. You won't lose anything if you skip it, and you won't gain much if you watch it either. It's just nothing. Uh, I also hate to say I agree with that as well. I mean, it does exist. Again, was it needed? No, it really wasn't. And okay, so this one I feel like I'm really going to agree with. Okay, so this one gives it a 5 out of 10, an unnecessary and artificial sequel. I went into The Devil Wears Prada 2 hoping it would justify its own existence, but it doesn't. The most frustrating part is that it actively undermines the original. Key characters' development from The Devil Wears Prada is essentially walked back, which feels less like a continuation and more of a regression. Stylistically, the film also misses what made the original work. The cinematography and production design feel overly polished in a synthetic, almost streaming original way. Like everything being flattened into aesthetic. Um, Content rather than a lived in world. The original had an organic, believable texture and grounded the characters. This doesn't. It also lacks the humor that made the first film a um, sharp and rewatchable. My bad. Interestingly, when the story shifts to Italy, the tone improves. There's more warmth, more humor, and it briefly feels like a real film again, rather than an artificial set piece. Structurally, it's even more frustrating. The plot basically replays the same beats as the original, just with less precision, less wit, and far less impact. You can feel it trying to echo iconic moments rather than earning anything new. It's hard to be too harsh on the people who made it. A sequel to The Devil Wears Prada was always going to be an impossible task. The original is a near perfect standalone film. It didn't need expanding, and this is kind of proves why. Overall, it's not offensively bad, just unnecessary, and that might be worse. So yeah, I totally agree with that remark. I said it to my friend. I was like, I'm gonna watch it just because the same cast is back. But I don't think I'm gonna gain anything. I don't think it's going to prove anything, and I just want it to be good. That's all. That is all. And was it good? Yeah, it was good. But it like this one, it was unnecessary, very unnecessary. Um, this one also a five. So disappointing. All I could think about was how they got the cast back together after all this time. This was the best storyline they could come up with. You're putting question marks, right? This movie had so much potential, and um, they squandered it. They removed the aspects of the movie that made it great. One being the devil lost her backbone. That made no sense, except for the film wanting to be PG. The fashion was lacking. Miranda not remembering Andrea after writing her a recommendation at the end of the last movie made no sense. The storyline was all over the place and so boring. Okay, so I slightly agree with that um, review. Like, okay, so like she said, or he, whoever wrote that, Miranda not remembering Andrea, and apparently not remembering Emily either. Um, so yeah, I was like, what? Everything else, I was like, I don't know if I call it boring. I mean, I enjoyed watching it. I did. Um, but again, I'm just gonna say very unnecessary. Very unnecessary. This one also gives it a five. Ooh, this one's long. I don't know if I'm gonna get through all of it. Okay. Miranda Priestley was replaced by an HR compliant house cat. That's the title. I went in expecting glamour, um, cruelty, ambition, tension, and that deliciously icy workplace terror that made the original The Devil Wears Prada so memorable. What I got instead was a limp, over managed, competent, uh, committee approved sequel that seems terrified of its own legacy. The biggest crime is Miranda. The original Miranda Priestley was frightening because she represented taste, power, um, uh, institutional authority at their most refined and ruthless. Here she has been softened into something almost recognizable. Oh, I'm sorry, unrecognizable, tame, tidy, and constantly shadowed by the moral angsties of 2026. The film appears more interested in correcting Miranda than understanding why she worked as a character in the first place. The result is not growth, it's defaning. Andy is not much better. Instead of the intelligent, observant outsider who once moved through the fashion world with hesitation and moral tension, she now feels oddly overbright and excessively animated, as though the writers confused empowered with a bubbly. Emily Blunt still has flashes of iconic sharpness, but even she is trapped in a plot that has nowhere interesting to go. And the plot. What plot? The film recycles the old ingredients without the old bite. Fashion magazines in crisis, power struggle, industry change, generational lecture, workplace ethics. Fine, those could have worked, but the movie turns into dull sermon. This is not witty enough to be satire, though ruthless enough to be drama, and not emotionally rich enough to justify its own nostalgia. The worst part is how um, p- pedantic the whole thing feels. The film keeps pausing to teach the audience the correct way to think about power, ambition, identity, and workplace behavior. The original trusted viewers to notice ugliness beneath the glamour. This one keeps underlining the lessons with an HR presentation with culture lightning. The sequel of The Devil Wears Prada should have been sharp, stylish, morally complicated, and dangerous. Instead, this feels like a luxury brand training video about acceptable leadership behavior. Miranda did not return. She was replaced by a compliance memo in sunglasses. Sadly, sadly, I kind of agree with that. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. All right, so we'll do one more, and that will be all. This one gives it a 7 out of 10. Really good, not better. This was really good, but the problem is the original was brilliant. The first hand, an original and funny script. The sequel had a serious and obligations to fulfill. Most importantly, it had a feature Miranda. Oh, I'm sorry, it had to feature Miranda. Once again, Meryl Streep's character carries a big part of the movie, even if you don't see her that much in this part. It had to feature the most important characters from the first movie, which was done nicely. A new and young characters had to be introduced, but the new Emily's felt a bit unnecessary. I agree with that. There needed to be a few bangers of funny one liners, in which there were. A big finale that is time around felt a bit unnatural. The first brilliant part was spontaneous and due to the obligations that felt a bit forced. They sure tried to top the first part, but that would have been an amazing achievement. But again, this is a very solid comedy too. So overall, a lot of people are definitely agreeing with this. Um, it it's just I don't know. Unfortunately, one of those movies that now exist and wasn't needed. It really wasn't needed. Um, I don't know what else to say on that note, but yeah, that's kind of it. Let me know what you guys think when once you finish it or have watched it. Therefore, that is my review. I give it like a 7 out of 10. All right, thanks. Bye.